Let me tell you something they don't teach in business school. Real leadership is not about power, prestige, or position. It's not about titles or corner offices. It's not about who gets to speak first, who earns the most, or who gets credit. Real leadership is a choice, and that choice becomes clearest in one single moment, when food is served and the leader steps back, not forward, back, because in the most forming, highly bonded teams, whether in the military, in business, or in life, the leaders are the ones who eat last. Not because they have to, because they want to, because they understand something the rest of the world forgets. True leadership begins with service. The story behind this principle isn't just a poetic idea. It comes from a brutal, beautiful reality. In the Marine Corps, there's no written rule that leaders eat last. It's tradition, it's culture. You walk into a mess hall and you'll see it. The junior Marines go first, the senior officers go last. Why? Because leadership isn't demanded, it's earned, and it's earned through sacrifice, humility, and the decision to protect those under your care, even when no one is watching. Imagine a world where your boss asks, "How are you really?" Where your manager says, "Go home, I've got this." Where the person at the top is the first to take the blame and the last to take the praise. That world is not a fantasy. That world is built by leaders who eat last. You don't need permission to lead. You don't have to wait for someone to hand you a title or a position. Leadership is not granted by status, it's earned through behavior. It is a conscious decision made by individuals who understand that they have the power to influence others by the way they act, the way they speak, and most importantly, the way they serve. Leadership is not a reward for performance. It's a responsibility you take on the moment you choose to care more about others than yourself. The greatest mistake we make is believing that leadership starts when someone gives us authority. In truth, leadership begins when we accept responsibility for something beyond our own personal success. It's a shift in mindset, from self-interest to shared interest. It's the willingness to do what's right for the group, even if it's not the easiest, fastest, or most convenient path for ourselves. Real leaders don't need a nameplate on the door. They don't lead because they're told to. They lead because they can't stand by and do nothing. They lead because they see something worth protecting, worth building, worth giving their energy and attention to. Every day, in every environment, there are people who choose to lead from wherever they are. A junior employee who notices a teammate struggling and steps in to help without being asked. A student who speaks up when they see someone being mistreated. A volunteer who quietly picks up trash after an event so others can enjoy a clean space. These are not grand gestures. They are simple choices rooted in a deep understanding of human connection. Leadership is not about being the hero. It's about being useful. It's about asking, "What can I do to make things better for someone else?" and then doing it, even if no one notices. People who choose to lead understand that influence is earned, not demanded. It's earned by showing up consistently, by doing the hard work, by demonstrating integrity, humility, and empathy. When others feel that you care, that you listen, that you're willing to stand beside them rather than above them, trust begins to grow. And trust is the soil where leadership thrives. You don't build trust by commanding it. You build it by being the kind of person others want to follow, not because they have to, but because they believe in you. The essence of leadership lies in the quiet moments. It's in the way you show up during a crisis, the way you respond to pressure, the way you handle conflict. It's in your ability to stay calm when others panic, to speak the truth when others stay silent, to remain kind even when it's difficult. People are always watching. They see how you treat others. They see how you react when things go wrong. They see whether you choose to be generous or selfish. And in those moments, leadership is either revealed or rejected. Leadership isn't about taking the easy path, it's about shouldering the burdens that others can't or won't carry. The strongest leaders are not the ones who bark orders from a distance or bask in praise during good times. They are the ones who step into the fire when things go wrong. They carry the emotional, physical, and mental weight of responsibility because they understand one simple truth: if they don't, no one else will. It's not a glamorous role, and it often comes without applause. But leadership is not about seeking comfort, it's about showing up when it matters most. The strongest leaders are the first to enter the chaos and the last to leave it. They do not delegate responsibility when the stakes are high. They do not shift blame when mistakes are made. They absorb the pressure so their team can focus, function, and move forward. When a challenge threatens the group, it is the leader who takes the first step toward resolution. Not because it's easy, but because that's what leadership demands. They understand that being out front means being exposed, and they embrace that reality. They don't hide from tough decisions, they make them. They don't flinch when there's risk. They calculate it and take it if it means protecting the people behind them. Leadership is heavy. It's often invisible work. It's showing restraint when you want to lash out. It's staying steady when the ground is shaking. It's listening when all you want to do is speak, and in those moments the weight gets real. The strongest leaders are human. They feel fear, doubt, and fatigue. But they carry on because they know others are counting on them. They push through the discomfort not for recognition, but because they care deeply. They care about the people, the mission, the outcome. In any hyper-forming team, the one constant is a leader who accepts that their role is to sacrifice. That could mean staying late to finish the work no one else can do, taking the fall when the team misses a target, or absorbing the emotional strain so others can stay focused and motivated. The stronger the leader, the less their team has to worry about. They create space for others to thrive by carrying what others cannot, and it's not about martyrdom, it's about responsibility. Real leaders don't see this burden as a punishment. They see it as a privilege, to be the one who holds steady in the storm, who stays calm when tensions rise, who bears the weight that comes with the trust of others. That is the quiet honor of leadership. When pressure builds, people instinctively look to someone to follow. They scan the room for someone who isn't panicking, someone who stands firm, someone who has the strength to hold it all together. The strongest leaders become that person not through force, but through example. They earn the right to lead because they choose to carry the burden that others can't. People cannot thrive where they don't feel safe. They can show up, they can follow instructions, they can complete tasks, but without a foundation of safety, they will never give their full creativity, energy, or heart. Safety isn't a perk reserved for top performers or a bonus offered during good times. Safety is a foundational requirement for any team, any workplace, any community that hopes to achieve lasting success. The best leaders understand that. They know that before you can ask people to perform, you must first create an environment where they feel secure, valued, and protected. This kind of safety isn't just physical. It's emotional, psychological, and cultural. It's the deep, unspoken understanding that if you speak up, you won't be punished. If you fail, you won't be shamed. If you try something new and stumble, your team won't turn their back on you. Leaders who prioritize safety cultivate what's called a circle of safety, a space where people are free to be human. That means they can make mistakes without fear of humiliation. They can express doubt without losing credibility. They can raise concerns, challenge ideas, and offer feedback without wondering if it will cost them their job, their respect, or their standing. The absence of safety leads to silence. People stop contributing, stop questioning, stop risking. They shut down, they play it safe. They do only what is required because doing anything more feels dangerous. And when people feel unsafe, they start focusing on survival, not on progress, not on innovation, not on collaboration. They stop trusting their teammates. They start protecting themselves. And when that happens, the entire culture begins to decay from the inside out. Leaders who understand the importance of safety pay attention to the smallest signals. They notice when someone is quiet in meetings, when someone looks defeated after a tough conversation, when someone hesitates to speak up. They don't wait for issues to escalate. They lean in, ask questions, and listen without judgment. They make it clear that being human is not a liability. Vulnerability is not punished, it's respected. Honesty is not dangerous, it's expected. Creating safety is not about avoiding hard truths. It's about making space for those truths to be spoken without fear. It's about separating the person from the problem, the performance from the identity. Great leaders hold their people accountable, but they do it from a place of care, not control. They correct behavior without attacking character. They set high standards without making people feel small. And because their teams feel safe, they rise to those standards with energy, not resentment. When people feel safe, they take risks that drive progress. They look out for one another, they offer help before being asked. They move with confidence because they know their leader is behind them, not just above them, and that changes everything. A safe culture becomes a strong culture, one where people aren't just surviving, they're contributing at their highest potential together. Trust is not given automatically, it's earned through consistent, intentional action over time. It is built slowly and lost instantly, and for leaders, trust is the currency everything else depends on. Without trust, even the most talented teams will hesitate, communication will break down, and collaboration will fall apart. But when people trust their leader, they give more than effort. They give belief. They follow not because they are told to, but because they want to. And that kind of trust doesn't come from speeches or slogans. It comes from one simple behavior repeated day after day, putting others first. When people know their leader is looking out for them, something shifts. They stop operating from fear and start moving with freedom. They know their ideas won't be stolen, their failures won't be used against them, and their mistakes won't define them. That's when people start to take risks, not reckless ones, but bold ones. They innovate, they speak up, and they challenge one another because they know their safety is not conditional on perfection. That feeling of security creates the fertile ground where trust can grow, thrive, and deepen. Putting others first doesn't mean being soft or avoiding tough decisions. It means making those decisions with people in mind, not just profits, performance, or optics. It means taking the time to listen, even when you're busy. It means checking in with someone who's struggling, even when they haven't asked for help. It means advocating for your team, even if no one is watching. These are the moments that build trust. They're often small, even invisible, but they are powerful. A leader who puts others first shows in action that they care more about people than credit, more about service than status, more about outcomes than optics. Trust is built when a leader sacrifices their comfort for someone else's clarity. When they stay to help long after the meeting ends, when they give recognition freely and take blame without hesitation, when they speak honestly but with empathy, when they offer feedback not to prove superiority but to nurture growth. These acts are not grand gestures, they are the daily proof that the leader can be counted on. They communicate without words, I've got you. The opposite is also true. When a leader consistently puts their own interests first, when they seek credit, avoid blame, or manipulate others to maintain control, trust disintegrates. People start to protect themselves instead of the mission. They become guarded, skeptical, and disengaged. And that erosion doesn't start with one big event, it starts with small cracks in integrity, loyalty, and consistency. That's why leaders must be intentional every day. Every choice either builds trust or breaks it. Leaders who put others first build a culture where people feel safe, valued, and seen. And in that kind of environment, trust isn't just present. It becomes the foundation for everything else. Teams become stronger, communication becomes more open, and the pursuit of excellence becomes a shared commitment rather than a personal burden. Because people trust their leader, they show up with more than just skill. They show up with heart.